My next speaker, you all know the young lady, Claire Bidwell, raising the flag of Palestine and Kashmir up and down the country. And she was very active in release Yasin Malik and all political prisoners in Kashmir. And she is a voice for the voiceless Kashmiris as well as the Palestinian. I'm very proud to invite her to speak on the International Human Rights Day today with us. Claire Bidwell, over to you.
Good evening. Thank you. It's great to see everybody here, and obviously to get together and talk about this and share ways forward is really good. There's been some really good speakers and really good information, so I don't really want to, we're going to try and avoid repeating anything that they've said, but I think then what I'd like to take the issue with is how we move forward with the solutions. And I think it's to pick up, first of all, you know, somebody said earlier, we have this amazing Declaration of Human Rights built up from the, you know, world wars previously, and on paper they are perfect. They what we all try and morally live by, what we all want to see. But as we know, in reality, we're not seeing them enacted. And I think that's what our role is. We need to work towards making these enacted. And we've realized that we've got a government and powers that don't want this. I mean, that's the brutal reality. From following, for me, coming into this with the Kashmir issue and the lockdown, the bringing in of the forces, the shutting down of the internet, making people under curfew, and you know, on balance, anybody's rights being lost like that was just like, hang on, you can't do this. You know, as an educator, you know, there's hope for the future in terms of educating again. Like, so I know that as a teacher, I'm teaching in Scotland, you know, and I read the other day that Scotland are hoping to bring in the human rights laws as laws in our country and integrate them. And I think it might be one of the first countries to do that. And in light of what the UK are doing just now, when the majority of people, I think nearly 80% want a ceasefire, and they're completely ignoring their people and saying what they want to say, that's so frustrating. And as we know, that's a violation of our rights as well, because that's not democratic. So we're seeing the children at the minute of the future being educated, so that in the hope that when they grow up, they'll have the strength, they'll have the power. So things are going forward, but obviously we need it sooner. It's hard to see anything other than a genocide in Palestine. It's hard to see anything other than they just want the Palestinians eradicated, because this is their solution to any more tension in that area. And so it's very frustrating. You feel the same obviously with Kashmir, that they're just wanting India to go in, have their side, probably Pakistan have that side, and then they've got rid of any of the what they call the bother, or however it is, and they get the colonization of it. You know, prisoners, we're seeing so many prisoners in Kashmir. As Mirza said earlier about the silencing, they're all silenced. We've got friends in prisons as well, you know, not just mentioning Yasin Malik, but people like ourselves that are, you know, not that Yasin Malik is not an ordinary person of the world, he's a special person of the world because of all he's done, but ordinary people that were just speaking up, you know, against India's nationalism, against their occupation of Kashmir, that are in jail. And so there's no freedom of voice there, no democracy, and that is why it's important that we keep speaking up. But I think it's this education, that how are we going to move this forward? How are we going to make our politicians listen? Because that's fundamentally what we're needing to do. And by meetings like this, it's a start. The Palestinian solidarity gentleman earlier mentioned, someone has said, what's the point of marching? You know, but even for the people in their homes to turn on your TV, and if we're wanting to educate and bring more to it, then, well, we know it's valid marching. It's like, listen to us, hear us. But what's frustrating is that our politicians aren't hearing us. And that's what I think we need to work our way through for. Again, as somebody mentioned earlier, you know, UK abstaining from that vote, you know, Antonio Guterres, United Nations, this amazing setup of human rights, he blew the emergency button, pressed the emergency button. You know, this is something that it can impact on the whole world. Here's an emergency button. and USA veto it. The fact that one country can veto something like that is not democratic. I think the UK's reason for abstaining was that they didn't think the wording went as far enough in condemning Hamas. And I thought, this is like children in a playground. But their narrative isn't winning. This is what's one of the key things here. Their narrative isn't winning because so many people now are coming out of the woodwork, if you like, or from the movement that's been built and saying, hang on, this didn't start in Palestine on the 7th of October. This has been going on for years. And Hamas, like, they're 3 generations of people that have been occupied. So if your great-grandfather, your grandfather has seen his mother killed, his sons killed, his babies killed, and you pass that on generation to generation, then we've bred human beings. People have been bred under occupation that are going to come out and brutalize others because they know nothing else. And I think people are starting to see, well, hang on a minute, and they keep saying, Israel, one of the most advanced countries, as you know, and if you're telling me they can't precision hit people that they want to hit, that's ludicrous. And they're trying to tell us, we're bombing hospitals because, terrorists are under the hospitals and it's the terrorist people. People aren't stupid. And I don't think we can underestimate the British people. Don't think we can underestimate the American people. And there's the hope in that. That's the hope. As Mary was saying, it's a pivotal moment. I think the ceasefire moment the other day was pivotal. I think, Kashmir at the moment, when we're pushing forward for a voice of Kashmir and Kashmiris and what's happening to them, we've got the Palestine issue just exploding at the moment, and it's very hard. But the solidarity with the Palestinians, linking with the Kashmiris, and just to pull back to the issue of the prisoners, when we saw the ceasefire, the short ceasefire in Palestine, and the exchange, as they called it, of Israeli prisoners and the hostages, basically they were both exchanging hostages, and people were saying, well, Israel's got hostages too, and they had far more than Hamas had taken. And people were slowly, as Mary said again, or other people have mentioned, the media are involved in all of this as well, because they're trying to spin the narrative. So we need to work, and that's what we're seeing in Kashmir, these prisoners, and it's relating the two together. These prisoners are, prisoners of conscience, as Amnesty would call them. They are silenced for trying to speak up. We saw a girl in London yesterday in the campaign. She was holding up a banner of men in Palestinians that had been stripped down to their underwear, humiliatingly, hands behind their heads. And she had that picture alongside a Nazi picture where they'd stripped down the Jews. And she was it said, spot the difference. And she has a right to express it. And they're trying to tell her that she can't say that. And there was a hunt for her. I don't know if they found her, but it was on Twitter about, we're looking for this woman, because it's, they're trying to spin us this narrative, and we need to work together as we are tonight for both Palestine at the moment and for Kashmir, and educate and campaign, and like that domino effect that goes forward. So if we're supporting one another, pushing through for the people, I don't need to, we all know I don't need to go into the stories of what's happening, but that could be you, that could be I, and just to lose your house alone before you lose all your family's members all at once. That's the equivalent. And children, so many children, when they shouldn't even be in a war. So why there isn't that call for ceasefire? We're working against the powers that be, but we as human beings and people need to just come through and educate and make as much noise as we can, join every Palestinian protest we can, keep speaking up, keep telling our friends, keep telling our families, because that is the only way we'll come out of this. We can't give up. We can't lie down and think we can't do anything. We have to just keep going. We are seeing these images, and it's the first time, or one of the first times in something like this, where we have social media in the way that it does, and people raising the issue. And I think the Palestinian narrative and the human rights narrative is winning. So we're needing to just get the human rights articles into reality, and we need to educate people people and do all that we can to keep linking together and working together. So thank you for the opportunity, and it's great to be here with everybody and share ideas about it, because it's very frustrating.
Thank you very much, Claire. It was great to see you, and your comments and your efforts you do for Kashmir, Palestine, and all humanity, not only in United Kingdom or Scotland, but around the globe. Your team and you all are doing a great job.